childhood. We took it for granted, didn't we? When we were young, we were fearless. We explored, we took risks. Everything we did was new and exciting, and we were invincible. Until we found out that we weren't. Every once in a while, a cartoon would come out that would give us a nostalgic reminder of our childhood. Now, I'm not talking about cartoons with magical fairies or spies or sci-fi or anything like that. No, I'm talking about playing in your neighborhood, exploring the woods, school life cartoons. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am Tunamp, and this is the top 10 cartoons where kids are kids. Before we get started, I publish content of questionable quality whenever. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Or subscribe anyway, I'm not picky. You can keep up with me on social media or ring that bell to be notified when a new video comes out. With that said, let's do this thing. For this list, we take a look at those cartoons where kids act like kids. Playing, exploring, mingling. I'm avoiding teenager cartoons like As Told by Ginger, Pepper Ann, and a lot of others, as those are for a list for another time. As a reminder, this is my list, and my little own opinion. Not everyone is going to like what I like, and I am not going to like what everyone else likes. And that's fine. Now that we have a mutual agreement, let's start the countdown. Number 10. Dennis the Menace. Well, he means well. Dennis the Menace is a Kids' Kid series that focuses on the life of a kid in a suburban neighborhood. I guess the menace part of Dennis is he unintentionally causes trouble for those around him, meaning he's just a kid. Bart Simpson described himself as a modern-day Dennis the Menace, but he isn't. Bart is malicious and intentionally causes trouble. Dennis does not. He and his friends want to help, especially Mr. Wilson. Unfortunately for Mr. Wilson, Dennis causes more harm than good. The series is a bunch of friends wanting to help and go on adventures. Seriously, the theme song is misleading. It's low on this list because this series is not the greatest. As for the Kids Are Kids theme goes, it hits the nail and Mr. Wilson right on the head.
You should be more careful, Mr. Wilson. This is Friday the 13th.
No kidding.
Number 9. Life with Louie. There's just something about reflecting on one's childhood and bringing it to life. That is what Life with Louie is. Life with Louie is Louie Anderson's childhood. It's about friendship, family, and bullies. It's growing up with a loving mother, a demanding father, and a big family. There's road trips, county fairs, and block parties. Life with Louie's strength is Louie Anderson's experience and wit. Some things from his childhood may have been changed for the series, but this is still his life. And Fox Kids really didn't do that much when it comes to the slice of life genre. I can only think of the series Bobby's World as the only other series. And as much as I like Howie Mandel, I'm not a fan of Bobby's voice. Plus another show with Howie Mandel's already on this list. That is why I picked Life with Louie over Bobby's World.
Help! Louie! Get me down! You said it was candy!
He falls for that every year. Dumb kid.
Number 8. Muppet Babies. One of the first Kids' Kids series. It's all about kids misunderstanding a situation and using their imagination to try to understand the world around them, mostly in parodies. Again, it's kids being kids, and it isn't the traditional Muppet stuff. There are no flying boomerang fish or explosions. Well, not when they're not using their imaginations. And I'm very happy that the reboot continues this tradition. Now, is the new Muppet Babies as good as the original? Oh, well, it would be equal if it wasn't for the computer animation. Computer animation is still really limited compared to 2D animation. That and they nerfed up Piggy's and Gonzo's personality. Gonzo no longer has a crush on or flirts with Piggy, and Piggy is no longer aggressive. It's really a shame, as this is what makes those characters interesting in the original. But the biggest crime is getting rid of Animals Bye-Bye after the credits. While I do understand why, since Disney does the whole commercials during the credits thing now, I don't understand why not do it before the credits. Anyway, Muppet Babies is classic kids as kids, using their imagination. They are pretending to be Indiana Jones and Star Wars heroes, which is ironic since Disney owns all three franchises.
Piggy, my sweet, how's about you and I go for a little spin in my skyrocket? But on Blueberry Beach!
Number 7. The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show. There's something that has to be said for the original Kids Are Kids shows. The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show presents a kind of reality of how some kids treat each other. Now, does it step out of that reality from time to time? Sure it does. Mostly with Snoopy. Now, the reason why I picked the Saturday morning series over the specials is because the series does not focus on one specific topic like the specials do. It's more random, and most of the material comes straight from the comics. It works really well because each of the characters are likable. The Peanuts gang demonstrates what life is like for a kid. Somewhat. In a suburban community. You have friends, you have frenemies, and more. This is a good starter series with jokes that age really well. In short, like most of the series on this list, the Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show is timeless.
Don't breathe through your mouth, Chuck. Don't lick your fingers when you turn the pages, Chuck. And don't scrape your feet on the desk. Will you stop criticizing me? Another fine mess you've gotten me into, Chuck.
Number 6. The Loud House. Coming from a large family myself, this show kind of hit home for me. I have 7 brothers and sisters, so I say from experience, the Loud House is totally legit realistic. My family consists of a Lincoln, a Lori, a Lenny, a Lucy, a Lana, a Lisa, and a Lola. Obviously not to the extremes that this show provides, but it's there. I myself have a little Luann, Lisa, and a whole lot of Lincoln inside me. This show is amazing. It reminds me of a good Full House when it comes to family values. These values prevent each of the Loud kids from being one-dimensional characters. The family members show that they care for each other. Even the brattiest, Lola, has shown that family comes before her selfish wants. Each of the kids is allowed to be a child. Well, Lisa may be an exception. I think writers tend to forget that being smart doesn't mean maturity. The Loud House song says it best. Duck, dodge, push, and shove. This is how we show our love. That sounds about right. Oh, and the note about how I'm like Luann Loud, I live across from a post office. For fun, I have put pop snaps on my windowsill, hoping birds or the wind would knock them off while people are around to spook them. I've also played lion roars and ice cream truck music outside my window just to confuse people. Yeah, I may be a sociopath.
I was so tired last night, I fell asleep in the middle of cutting Lori's hair. What?
So we are midway through. It's time to caption that photo. It's a game where we caption a photo. It's self-explanatory. I don't have to tell you what it is. But first, let's take a look at some of my favorite captions from my Toonsylvania video. Now it's time for this week's photo. As always, the link to the tweet will be in the description of my comment section. Just post your caption within the tweet, and maybe your caption will be in my next video. Hey guys, thanks for getting this far into the video. We are not done yet. If you like what you see so far, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. I also want to thank my Patreons for their support of content of questionable quality. With that said, let's continue on. Number 5. Recess. In 2007, CBS created a reality series called Kid Nation. It was a show where kids were let loose and ran a town with no adults. There were leaders, bullies, snobs, goof-offs, and kids from every race. It was an experiment to see if kids could work together despite their differences. I like the original version better, thank you. Recess was at the forefront of what I like to call the Disney Goes to School era. It was very popular, And that is because kids could relate to TJ Detweiler, Spinella, Mikey, and the rest of the Recess gang. The playground was made into a kingdom filled with interesting characters that kids would find at their own school. Just a little bit more extreme. There were Cliques, Scouts, Upside Down Girl, the Swingers, Squealers, and of course, King Bob, the ruler of the playground. The core group is amazing, and they don't forget that they are kids. In the end, TJ and his group feels like an older group of the Rugrats. Maybe somewhere in between Rugrats and All Growed Up. Add some pesky adults who try to ruin the gang's fun, but honestly love to teach, and you've got a great Kids Are Kids show on your hands. Is it any surprise that out of all of the One Saturday Morning series, that Recess lasted the longest?
Come on, Swinger Girl, we really need your help.
Sorry, it's for a good cause.
No thanks. Might get a turkey dinner out of it.
Nah.
Gonna beat the Ashleys. I'm in.
The Ashleys?
We're in. Ashleys, count me in.
Ashleys? Sounds cool.
Guys, it's a whole new can drive.
Number 4. Arthur. I will admit it, PBS does have some great cartoons. My favorite is Word Girl, but Arthur is just so much fun. And let's face it, it's one of the first cartoons on PBS that proves the network is more than just Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. It's a clever show that has many elements from a lot of shows that are on this list. Family values, brother and sister squabbles, bullies who are not as mean as they pretend to be, best friends, hanging out with other friends. Every character is most characters are likable. Sorry, DW. And this show touches on some powerful issues. Granted, over the years, the animation style has changed, but the writing is just as good as it was in 1996. With 20 years under its belt, Arthur is still a Kids Are Kids series that makes me want to say, hey, it's a wonderful kind of day.
How'd you sleep?
DW wouldn't go to sleep for hours. She wanted to find all the free things in the room.
So far, I've got soap, shampoo, conditioner, a shower cap, oh yeah, and ice.
Number 3. Hey Arnold, a classic Nicktoon. So far, we've had Suburban Kids Are Kids series. So let's have an Inner City Kids Are Kids series. Like so many other series on this list, Hey Arnold deals with friends, bullies who are more than what they seem, crushes, and family. But not only that, but it also deals with community. And that is an important aspect of Hey Arnold. You get to know the people in the neighborhood. Arnold is a character who you can tell he cares. And while yes, he is a little bland, it is the other characters around him that make him shine. You get to like each one of these kids because they are fleshed out and are not there for the sake of being there. And some of the topics of this series are deep, especially when it comes to Helga and her relationship with her family. Admittedly, yeah, the kids are a bit older than I planned on having in this countdown, but I can't without a good reason not include Hey Arnold on this list.
Helga! The door's locked, honey. What are you doing in there? All right, Mother.
Number 2. Craig of the Creek. This series is the reason why I wanted to do this list. Craig of the Creek is a modern day Recess. I die a little inside every time I reference a show that was made in the 90s as if they weren't made in the modern era. Let's just say this is the 2010s version of Recess. And I'm not kidding about that. You take the world that is Recess, and Craig of the Creek expands it to a whole new world of exploration and adventure. Even the characters that Recess introduced has expanded. You have kids who are into books, nerd culture, traders, and so much more. And while Craig, Kelsey, and JP are not as memorable as TJ, Gus, and Spinelli, I said it right this time, they are still an entertaining bunch. This show is kind of the kick that Cartoon Network needed. It's weird that Cartoon Network would take so long to do a series like this. I say that because I'm not really sure if Ed, Edd n Eddy is considered a Kids Are Kids series. It's a little too out there. But on the other hand, I think it's good timing for Cartoon Network to get a series like this.
Please stop! You've caused enough pain in the Ninja Garden. Let's just hope you haven't damaged your imported manga. The Complete Justice, bro? You've been reading Western superhero comics? Gross!
And the #1 cartoon where kids are kids is Harvey BEES. I don't know what it is with this series, but from the moment I started to watch Harvey BEES, I got this sense of nostalgia. This is one of those shows that you got to know each one of the characters. And while it's true I could do without some of them, Techno Bear, most of them are extremely likable. Having the show being exclusively in the woods helps the atmosphere. You go exploring and have a sense of wonderment with each new discovery. You have friends that will cover your back for you. Harvey's innocence is so endearing and charming that you want to discover the world with him. It's really a shame what happened with this series in Nickelodeon, but I think the show ended perfectly by solving the greatest mysteries of the series.
I've danced with many men in my days, hundreds of men, but none of them had the moves quite like Blisty. Especially not you, Kevin, you're terrible. Oh, also, Randall, Blister is your father.
I think I'm going to miss those two characters the most.
Oh, bye-bye.